Israel Keyes is one of the most prolific serial killers of the last century. He's committed more crimes than you could imagine. Not only has he killed countless people, he's robbed banks, invaded homes, assaulted people, committed arson, and he's kidnapped a whole bunch of people. This guy is one of the most evil serial killers that had a plan for everything, and we're going to deep dive into everything about him. We've got to start by going all the way back. Israel Keyes was born in Richmond, Utah on January 7th, 1978. He was one of 10 children of parents Heidi Keyes and John Jeffrey. His parents lived in Torrance, California, and were members of a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the LDS Church. They were highly religious people. Keyes and his siblings were homeschooled until 1983. After leaving the LDS Church, Keyes' father moved the family to a remote plot of land north of Colville, Washington, when Israel was only 5 years old. Isolated from society, the family lived in a one-room cabin without electricity or running water on Rocky Creek Road. In Colville, the family attended services at a church called the Ark, which subscribed to white supremacist Christian ideology. During this period of attending the Ark, the Keyes family became friends with a neighbouring family, the Kehoes. The Kehoes were very strange people, especially Chevy Kehoe. He was an extreme white supremacist who years later went on to commit a triple murder, numerous robberies, kidnappings and more. He was an extremely dangerous individual. He wasn't someone you'd like to be friends with at a young, impressionable age. Fast forward years later, the Keyes family eventually left the Ark for the Christian Israel Covenant Church, which also ascribed to the white supremacist ideology, but they still lived in the same cabin on Rocky Creek Road. This cabin was so small that for years, some of the Keyes children were forced to sleep in a tent. They were also made to hunt for their own food, chop firewood and work on local farms to help support the family's income. The Keyes family was so deep-rooted in this way of living, so much so that Israel Keyes was known to hunt anything with a heartbeat, and later freely admitted to telling his church friends that he'd skinned a live deer. As a result, he was ostracized from other children. They were terrified of him, with one girl recounting that Keyes' presence made my skin crawl. Keyes also had a very large stature, being 6'2" at the age of 14. He towered over the other children. At age 14 all the way back in 1992, Keyes would regularly commit crime. He would start fires in the woods, he would shoot his neighbours' houses with a BB gun, and sometimes break into them, alongside a friend he made at church. However, this friendship didn't last too long, as this friend started avoiding Keyes because he witnessed him shooting an animal and disapproved. At the time that all of this was going on, Keyes' parents discovered a collection of guns that he'd stolen from a neighbour, who was forced to return the guns and apologise. Also around this time, Keyes' sister witnessed him mercilessly torturing a cat by tying it to a tree with a parachute cord and shooting it with a .22 revolver, which he found satisfying and funny. His sister heavily disapproved. This incident was more important than you'd think. He'd later go on to tell us that this is when he started masking his behaviour from others and going further into isolation. He said this made him feel different from his peers, so he kept his antisocial behaviour secretive. Years later, when Keyes was 16 years old, in 1994, the family soon moved again, this time to Maine, a mostly Amish community. Keyes' mother would force the children to hide from their parents to watch movies with friends, and they were forbidden from things, such as learning musical instruments. She believed doing these things was against God. Around this time, Keyes renounced his Christian faith. He soon told his parents he was an atheist, which blew up in a heated argument, soon leading to them evicting Keyes for blasphemy. His siblings were very close with him at the time, but they were told not to ever contact him again. And this is where things spiraled. During this time of great stress and isolation, even from his own family, he became interested in Satanism. And this is when he started planning to commit a ritualistic murder. According to Keyes, years later in a police interview, his first planned attack took place in Oregon in 1997. He abducted a teenage girl, then R-worded her. The girl, estimated to be between the ages of 14 to 18, had been tubing with her friends down a river in Maupin, Oregon. Keyes admitted that he stalked her from a tree line before threatening the girl with a knife and very violently essaying her, originally planning to murder her as a part of a satanic ritual. Keyes let her go in the river tube that he abducted her from, and he later said to detectives, "I wasn't violent enough," followed by, "I made up my mind I was never going to let that happen again." This was only the start of his violent behaviour. Keyes was known to be extremely intelligent, and he put this to use when he targeted his next victims. He travelled to kill in June 2011. He flew to Chicago before driving to Essex, Vermont, where he murdered Bill and Lorraine Currier. The couple was selected randomly as they fit Keyes' criteria of having no children, no dog, and a house with an attached garage. He broke into their home, subdued them, and then transported the pair into an abandoned farmhouse. Keyes then killed Bill and R-worded Lorraine before murdering her. As a serial killer, Keyes targeted victims who had happened to cross his path, so long as they fit the criteria. He often waited to accost people in parks, cemeteries, or campgrounds. Not as much to choose from, in a manner of speaking. He confessed to law enforcement. But there's also no witnesses. Really, there's no one else around. The only other confirmed victim was 18-year-old Samantha Tesla Koenig, a coffee booth employee in Anchorage, Alaska. Keyes kidnapped Koenig from her workplace February 1st, 2012. He took her debit card and other property, then R-worded her, before strangling her to death with a rope. He left her body in a shed in his backyard and went to New Orleans, where he departed on a pre-booked 2-week cruise with his family in the Gulf of Mexico. When he returned to Anchorage on February 19th, 18 days later, he sexually assaulted Koenig's body. Keyes then removed Koenig's body from the shed, applied makeup to the corpse's face, and sewed her eyes open with a fishing line. He took a picture of a 4-day-old issue of the Anchorage Daily News alongside her body, posed to appear that she was still alive. After demanding $30,000 in ransom, some of which was paid into the victim's bank account, Keyes dismembered Koenig's body and disposed of it. Her remains were recovered by the FBI's Underwater Search and Evidence Response Team. The ransom was a huge mistake by Keyes, as this led to his downfall. On the morning of March 13, 2012, investigators had circulated a lookout bulletin for the suspect's car, which had been used at ATMs to withdraw money from Koenig's account. As he moved throughout the southwestern US, Keyes was arrested by Texas Highway Patrol in the parking lot of Cotton Patch Cafe in Lufkin.
How you doing?
Good.
I'm with Highway Patrol. The reason we stopped you is kind of down there looking around. Where are you from?
I'm from Alaska.
Let's get you.
As the Highway Patrol officer talks of Mr. Keyes, you will surely notice more cars start pulling into the parking lot. Undercover officers surround Keyes, as they know this could become deadly. And at this moment in time, Keyes has no idea why he's been stopped, and they don't tell him this information for a very long time. They want to get information from him.
Mr. Keyes.
Hi there.
Steve Raven with the Texas Rangers.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm
Steph Galloway with Etienne.
Hi.
Can we visit with you for a few minutes?
Yeah, like I said, but I mean, if it's going to be a while, my daughter's with my brother. They're heading up north, and they're going to be waiting for me. So if it's going to be a while, I need to call them and let them know what's going on. I mean, I don't know what's going on. They didn't even tell me why I was pulled over. So
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a long time or not. It kind of depends on our conversation. Where were you at last night?
I was in with my brother all night. I mean, I was staying up in Wells, but last night I stayed down here, just down the road in his hotel room, me and my daughter. And yeah, we went up to Wells, talked to my family, turned right around, came back down here, and drank a couple beer and.
He talks non-stop, but the officers already know that what he's saying is false, because this rental car has been tracked the moment it was linked to Samantha Koenig's kidnapping. Of course, at this time, no one knew she was dead, apart from Keyes, due to the fake newspaper photo with her dead body. They believe Keyes has her held captive somewhere, alive. Now they turn up the heat. It's time to search the vehicle.
I gave you my ID. You're not searching anything. Look, you have not given me any information. I've been very open with you. I've been telling you everything. You're not searching anything of mine until I know what's going on and why I'm still standing here and why I got pulled over for the first place. I haven't had a speeding ticket for 10 years, I don't think.
Listen, have you ever met a Texas Ranger before?
Honestly, I've never even really been to Texas. I was stationed here.
Have you ever met an FBI agent before?
No, I don't think so.
So it's pretty unusual you'd have a Texas Ranger and an FBI agent talking to you right now, isn't it?
You know what? I have no idea. You still haven't even told me why I'm talking to you.
It's probably something pretty serious, right?
How would I know?
Because you got an FBI agent and a Texas Ranger standing here talking to you.
You people question people all the time, right?
Okay.
You said you're looking for a guy in a white car. How many guys in white cars are there?
Right.
We're looking for a guy driving a white Ford Focus from Alaska.
Okay.
And so it's kind of a coincidence that your driver's license says you're from Alaska.
I've told you I was from Alaska.
Right. I know. Hey, it appears you've been completely honest with us from this point. We don't know if you're the guy that we're looking for.
I don't understand why you're.
We're looking for a guy that's committed a pretty serious crime. We don't know if you're the guy or not. We would like you not to be the guy. So we'd like your cooperation, and there are some things that are going to be in the guy's possession that we're looking for, all right, that you shouldn't have, okay? So that's the reason we're asking maybe to look at your wallet to make sure you don't have what we're looking for. We'd like to look in your car to see if you have.
You are not certain. Look, I know how this works. I watch enough TV to know how this works.
You might want to call your wife.
Dude really said, no, I watch enough TV to know how this works. And it turns out they don't need a search warrant, as they have probable cause. They're pretty certain this is their guy. They searched his car, all while he was sat in a cop car watching. So what did they find in the car? Huge amounts of cash that was drawn out from an ATM after some of Koenig's ransom was paid. They also found Samantha Koenig's debit card in his wallet. This was now a slam dunk, but detectives had no idea what they were about to unearth. This was the end of his reign of evil, but police quickly realised the man they captured was a serial killer. This was not his only victim. Keyes would go on to tell police minute details about his crimes, enough that they'd believe him, but couldn't tell who the victims were. Keyes later admitted responsibility for robbing several banks around the same time, two of which investigators have corroborated. Keyes used the proceeds from his bank robberies to pay for his travel, along with money he made as a general contractor. Keyes also admitted to travelling to various locations to leave supplies he planned to use in future crimes. Keyes buried murder gear throughout the United States. The FBI recovered 2 instances where Keyes buried murder kits, one in Eagle River, Alaska, and one near Blake Falls Reservoir in New York. The murder kits contained weapons and other items used to dispose of bodies. Keyes indicated the other kits he buried throughout the US contained weapons, money, and items used to dispose of bodies. He also admitted to frequenting prostitutes during his travels, and it is unknown that if at this time he met any of his victims in this way. Keyes indicated the victims are male and female, and range in age from late teens to the elderly. He told investigators prior to the murder of Bill and Lorraine Currier in Vermont, his victim's disappearance received little, if any, media coverage. Investigators believe Keyes is responsible for 11 homicides. Keyes stated his murders occurred in less than 10 states, but did not disclose all of the locations. He described crossing into multiple states during the abduction, murder, and disposal of a victim. It's not unlikely that in some cases Keyes abducted a victim from one state, transported the victim to another state where he or she was murdered, and potentially drove the victim to another state to dispose of the body. He also admitted to burglarizing 20 to 30 homes throughout the United States, and he talked about committing arson as a means to cover up homicide. Keyes is believed to have killed 11 people, of whom only Samantha Koenig and the couple, Bill and Lorraine, have been definitively identified. To this day, there's still the question, who are the other 8 victims? The truth is, we still don't know and may never know. To this day, the FBI is still actively seeking out information regarding Keyes, trying to solve some of the many unsolved murders. They made a huge list of places Keyes has been and things he's done. It was released to the public in hopes someone will call and give some insight. On screen is everything they've released so far. If you know anything, then obviously give them a call. The full interviews of Israel Keyes can be found on YouTube. Just search Israel Keyes interviews. Personally, I couldn't sit through them. They're full of laughing and joking. And I get detectives need to laugh with criminals to get more info out of them. But it really infuriated me to watch, considering how much misery he's caused. Fast forward months later, while being held in jail at the Anchorage Correctional Complex, Keyes managed to conceal a razor blade in his cell. It is uncertain how Keyes obtained the blade, as he was under constant supervision. He died by suicide on the night of December 1st, 2012, by cutting his wrists and attempted strangulation. A suicide note, ode to a murder. One part of the note said, "My dark moth princess, I would come often and worship on the altar of your flesh. You shudder now with revulsion and try to shrink far from me. I'll have you lie down and begging to become my Stockholm sweetie." In 2020, the FBI released a drawing of 11 skulls and 1 pentagram, which had been drawn in blood and found underneath Keyes' bed after his suicide. One of the drawings included the phrase, "We are one." The FBI believes the number of skulls correlates with the total number of his victims. We may never know for sure.